hi viewers. What? Are you trying to study a sem's worth of information in one night's time again?
Don't even try to deny it. Come on, we've got you.
This is Kim,
And this is Nadine.
and we're here for another episode of
La
Chem. And as always, we're here to help you understand your course in 20 minutes.
or less.
Kim, it seems that we're not having our usual upload today.
That's right. But we're going in for another type of haul.
A haul?
Yes, a haul. But this is not your usual type of content. This is not stationary though.
Because it's a lab equipment haul! Or to be more specific, those laboratory tools and equipment we have to familiarize ourselves with before we battle our way to our lab classes.
So let us talk about the different tools and equipment that are used in this subject. Of course, before we proceed to various experiments and even topics about different principles and theories in chemistry, let us first be familiar with different kinds of tools and glasswares that we are going to be utilizing in chemistry.
All of the following clips are for informational purposes only. All the statements and the opinions of the host are not meant to be a recommendation to buy and sell. The information presented by the host are sourced from sources believed to be reliable. Please view the video with discretion.
Now, we'll organize the laboratory tools and equipment into 4 groups.
First, let us talk about the glassware tools and equipments that are not used for measurements.
And then, we'll discuss about the glassware that is used for measurements.
After that goes the tools and equipment that are used for filtration.
And for the last ones, we'll talk about the miscellaneous lab tools and equipment that we've bought.
First, let us indulge ourselves to the glasswares that are not used for measurements. Again, they are not used for measurements. We have here the also famous Erlenmeyer flask. It is used for easy stirring. It can also be swirled by hand so that you won't spill any chemicals in it. And it is also designed and used for hydrations. Next, I think we are familiar with this one. This equipment won't be famous if it is not frequently used, right? And it is called the beaker. Beaker holds a variety of liquids, and it has a teeny bit special thing about it, and that is the spout lines. These spout lines are used for easy pouring and less spillage from one container to another.
The Erlenmeyer flask in the beaker is not used for measurement as it is not reliable and only accurate to 5%.
Third in this category is the test tube. I mean, who doesn't know what the test tube is right now? Well, for all you crammers, a test tube is used to mix and hold small samples for qualitative analysis. It can be mixed by tapping the bottom with 2 fingers. It can fit both a centrifuge and a test tube rack. Last in this category is the vial with cap. This one is used to hold small samples, both solid and liquid. Glassware equipment that is used for measurement. First one in this category is the volumetric flask. This flask measures only one specific volume that is marked by the etched line on its neck. The great thing about this flask is that it can easily mix solutions well, as it has a glass topper that is designed for it to be inverted multiple times. And of course, one cannot do a lab equipment haul without this graduated cylinder. So this famous baby is used to measure various different volumes. And its spout lines up with the rims of other glassware for easy pouring.
One cannot go wrong with the next item of ours, and that is called the pipette. The pipette is actually essential in measuring specific volumes and is used in conjunction with the pipette ball. There are actually three kinds of pipettes, and this one that I'm holding right now is called graduated pipette, which can be used in any of the given markings along its side. The second one is the volumetric pipette, which is extremely accurate, but it is only used for one volume. The third is the pasture pipette, that are used for very small but not specific volumes. And lastly, TD versus TC, which means to deliver glassware measures the exact amount measured from line after allowing the contents to pour naturally using gravity out of the tip, and TC, which means to contain glassware requires measures both a beginning volume and a final volume in order to measure how much was removed from the original contained volume. Alright, and that is all for the measuring glassware lab equipment. On to the next category.
Well, there are lab equipment that is used for measuring and glassware that is not used for measuring. There is also what we call tools for titrations. But first, what is a titration?
Titration is the process of chemical analysis in which the quantity of some constituent of a sample is determined by adding to the measured sample of an exactly known quantity of another substance with which the desired constituent reacts in a definite known proportion.
The laboratory equipment that is often used for titrations is the iron stand. It is used in conjunction with other clamps to hold equipment that cannot stand on its own. Lastly, the utility clamp, also known as the ring clamp. It is attached to an iron stand to hold glassware that cannot stand on its own. And those are the commonly used equipment for titrations.
The last category consists of lab equipment of various types. So the first thing in our list is a funnel. A funnel is used for filtration, and it is also used for transferring of liquids to avoid spillage, just like what she demonstrated. The next one is the evaporating dish. This is another lab equipment that is used to evaporate a liquid, to heat small portions of a substance, and is often used to cover beakers with sodium hydroxide to avoid excess reaction with the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Another notable equipment is the crucible holder. It looks like this. This one is used to transfer hot crucible inside or atop the curb at the end of the tongs. And it can also be used to transfer other hot things by pinching them with the tongs. We don't want to burn ourselves, don't we?
Now that we've talked about the crucible holder, let's talk about the crucible itself. It is a type of laboratory glassware used to burn, melt, or mix solid chemical compounds over a burner, and can even hold all kinds of substances materials, and fluids. Of course, whenever handling chemicals, you need to stir things. Good thing that there is a steering rod for us not to endanger ourselves with the chemicals.
But be careful when you're using it. Be careful not to scrape the glass tray bar against the glass of the beaker or to apply a lot of pressure to the bar as they break relatively easily.
Another thing that is notable and is really useful in the laboratory is that this wash bottle. Wash bottle is used to dispense RO water. Next item is the pipette valve that is used on the end of the pipette to aspirate liquid out into the pipette. This is an example of pipette valve in a dropper.
Remember to be careful not to aspirate too much so that the liquid goes into the bulb, or else this would contaminate it.
One lab equipment that is very useful for the professors or even the students is the centrifuge. It is used to separate solids out of liquids that are held in test tubes.
Reminder that for the centrifuge to properly work, it must have an even balanced number of test tubes, and to listen to centrifuge as it runs a thumping sound means it is imbalanced and should be stopped and reloaded.
When working in the lab, there are instances that we need to hit the chemicals in order for us to reach our reaction. For this, we have the Bunsen burner for us to be able to hit things.
Meanwhile, there are some instances that you don't need a Bunsen burner in heating an object. There is what you call alcohol lamp. Alcohol lamp is basically an open flame that is used for heating, sterilization, and combustion inside the laboratory. Alcohol lamp is usually paired with either an iron stand or another shape of iron stand.
To continue, we have the mortar and pestle. Well, it is often used to prepare reactants for solid-state synthesis. It is also used to grind up solid chemicals into fine powder and crush solids into smaller pieces.
Well, you see, it seems like the category in this equipment is never ending. Well, it certainly feels like it, but there's still more. Next up on our hall is the syringe. Well, if you would ask me what the syringe is, then I don't think that you would pass the laboratory activity. Just kidding. The syringe is an important lab equipment in the laboratory, for it is used in measuring and transferring solvents and reagents where high precision is not required.
We sure are to take note of that, Kim. Now, let's continue with the haul. We also have to, of course, measure mass every now and then. Good thing that we've bought that item in our haul, the triple beam balance. It is used to measure mass directly from objects and even find mass by difference for liquid and measure out substances. Isn't this weighing tool great?
Whoa, you just sounded like a real online seller right there, huh?
Did I, Kim? Well, let's move on. When working with the chemicals in the laboratory, there are some chemicals that react to a specific temperature, right? Right. So, how do we know, or what do we use in order for us to know what the temperature of the substance is? Like, what do we use in order to know the freezing and boiling point of the substance?
A thermometer?
Are you sure?
Yes.
Yes, a thermometer. It is also called as a lab thermometer because it is not intended to use for measuring body temperatures. but for checking the temperatures of chemicals and other substances.
Let's take a break for a while. The information may be overflowing right now. So let us breathe in and out. It may seem that this lab equipment does not end, but trust us, it does. Now, shall we continue with the haul?
7 hours later.
Now that we've taken a breather, let's continue. Next up on our haul is the gauze. But do you ever wonder what this gauze is? What is the use of gauze in the laboratory? Well, it is an important piece of supporting equipment in the laboratory, as glassware cannot be heated directly with a flame of a Bunsen burner, and it requires the use of a wire gauze to diffuse the heat, helping to protect the glassware.
And that is all for our chemistry lab equipment haul! To summarize, there are 4 categories in this lab equipment haul. The first 2 categories are the glassware that is not used for measuring and glassware that is used for measurements.
And the last 2 categories are the lab equipment used for titrations. And lastly, the miscellaneous lab equipment that is used for various reasons. Remember, always follow the safety rules and guidelines when handling your laboratory equipment, for this can really save our lives. And that is it for today's video. Again, this is Lab
Chem, your go-to channel when you're cramming to study for a major exam.
Again, I'm Kim.
And I'm Nadine.
Thank you.
And have a blessed day.
Do you know what these tools are for? Every time in the lab, some are for measuring, use for liquids. Glasswares aren't all for measuring. Some are just to contain and to avoid spills. Just be careful on handling. Some equipment are so complicated to be handled. Please study on how to use it first. Do not ever touch the flammables and only do things instructed to you. That is why you should know the use of the tools and chemicals. Then clean them, put to safe place after use. When you are inside the lab, please follow the safety rules. Don't forget to wear protective gears, so you won't get any contact with the chemicals you're not familiar with. Value our laboratory. Answer your curiosity. Just be sure on what you use. Group2. Just be sure on what you use. Group2.